Hello and welcome to my new Let's Play. This is BioEnchanted, and today I'm, as you can see, doing Soul Blazer. This is a game on the Super Nintendo that I played on an emulator a few weeks ago, honestly, and thought it was really interesting. I quite like its quirky sense of humour, and the fact that it moves at a very, very, very fast pace. As RPGs go, I'd almost call it arcadey because of it. Let's go for a fairly basic name. And also, decent Judeo-Christian to go with the whole God theme. So let's go to this blue teleporter, shall we? It's a brief tutorial on the entire game. A small room with a chest, with our first weapon in it, the Sword of Life, so let's equip that. And an enemy spawner. Here we teach how we get weapons, and how we use them. And the effects using them has on the world at large. So let's start by killing everything that comes out of this little warpy thing. The way this game works is each warpy thing has, they're called monster nests, and each one has a limited number of monsters of a particular type. You take out all the monsters in the nest, and it turns into a button that you then press. And pressing that restores something. In this case, this man. That is basically all you need to do to get through this entire game, although it gets, of course, much more complicated as the game progresses, and we get more difficult combinations of level design, creatures, and other traps and things. Here's our first magic as well. Generally, all the magic guys say the same basic thing. They all came from the sky too, have taken up some kind of body on Earth, and are helping us by giving us their spirits so that we can fire at them. Appropriately enough, the monsters we killed gave us 4 gems, one each, which was just enough to actually use Flame Ball once. But I'll be using it fairly sparingly, because as far as spells go, there are better spells in the game, and it's more something I use when necessary, more than anything else. But it's good to use tactically. But here's the first area. This is Grass Valley, and it's looking pretty dull right now, so let's do something about that, shall we? Basic idea, we already have all the essential tools that we need when it comes to knowing how the mechanics work. A key thing with this game is placement of yourself compared to the enemy, and making the enemies walk in a particular fashion to get to you, in some cases, before they have a chance to do anything particularly nasty. It's kind of a tactical situation. For example, you can't actually hit enemies until they stop flashing when they spawn, because they have invisibility when they first spawn, which means you kind of have to be careful and funnel them in a particular direction, because if they get to you before they finish flashing, they'll hit you, and you won't be able to do anything about it. This is me trying to show something off, but I forgot the button, so let's just kill the rest of these guys. Again, funneling them through here, because about this point is where they stop flashing and are able to actually be damaged. This is why I say this game is fairly arcadey as well, because these monster layers have limited monsters and do not return. It means you actually can't really grind effectively in this game until very far at the end of it. At this point, throughout most of the game, the only reliable experience you have is from monster nests. And so the game basically gives you a particular level to be at for each section of the game. And that is fairly streamlined, and I quite like that, because it's always kind of dull when you get stuck grinding for a million years, and that's what I was trying to do, bring up the pause screen that shows you where you are and how many monster nests there are left to take care of. Here's our second enemy type. It moves in a much more, the first one moved fairly basically, just moved towards you. This one moves in a more erratic pattern. Very erratic, no real pattern to it. And then these blue slimes are actually our first permanent enemies that do respawn infinitely. These guys generally are just there in the level all the time, and will activate when you get close to them. And here we receive our first normal item, a medical herb. I quite like generally the way this game puts its initial challenges together. You start with a fairly basic set of enemies, and then some enemies combined with these permanent enemies, and now here it introduces a different type of permanent enemy. After I failed to put all this guy down here, so I don't have to activate it, because the guy's just not coming down, so I have to go around to him. But yeah, if we go around this corner, we'll see a torch. We need to kill that torch ASAP, because it will fire fireballs at us, and that will suck. We equip the magic herb, because the way it works is if we lose all our health while the herb's equipped, it will restore our health completely. It's a very useful item to have in all times. Always make sure you have one. Once you take care of these monster nests, we'll also introduce a new style mechanic as well. This jewel is a goddess jewel. That's what I call them anyway. They each contain a fairy that gives some kind of advice, and sometimes give you a gift. Often experience. But of course we'll be staying here until we return to Grass Valley because we haven't really done anything yet, and we still have our herbs, so let's press on, shall we? Generally the way I'm separating these videos is essentially I'm going to get to a point in the dungeon where I can't progress any further until interacting with the town. But of course, there are obstacles in the dungeons that only the town can help you get through. It's kind of how the game segments the sections of each dungeon. As you can see, if I don't have the actual positioning down, it can result in bad things for me. For example, that guy moved a little too far. I thought he was going to go left first like the first guy did. This is why positioning is key. Because yeah, I'm very close to having to use my herb here. And there we are. Herbs used. Now I have exactly 8 points to go for the entire rest of the floor. So I'll have to be a lot more careful from this point on. Because if you die, you go back to the little Sky Palace, speak to the god guy, and also you speak to, well, the creator I guess it'd be called, and you also lose all of your gems, which means you can't cast any spells till you grind more up. So let's try and avoid that, shall we? Let's try and keep as many gems as we can, while not standing on the torch like an idiot. These guys again are a little bit of a pain because of how erratic they are. And you will be seeing the magic in action shortly, but as you can see, it's a little, at this point at least, this spell is a little hard to aim because it fires in the direction you're facing, and from the ball, so you have to time it pretty well, and be facing in the right direction to actually contact anything with it. However, the magic in this game is decently powerful, and therefore very good for sniping enemies you just don't want to deal with. Or just tactical going, nah. I'm on the other side of the thing, and you can't get to me, so I'm just gonna take care of you. These guys are dangerous. These guys can throw fireballs at us, which we'll see shortly. For now, let's just kill these ones. These guys, we don't really want to get in the way of a bad angle. We kind of need to figure out a position to be in to take them out effectively because of the fact that they actually have a ranged attack, unlike most of the enemies in this dungeon. It makes them one of the more dangerous enemies at the early point in the game. On my initial playthrough, I died in this game a lot. However, this game does have a lot of kindnesses to it that a lot of even the NES games didn't really have, and my definition of arcadey as a result is incomplete because it's not actually that arcadey because it's not as impossibly difficult as a lot of arcade games tend to be. It's much more fair. And as you can see, we're kind of in a tight spot. We have 5 health left, and if we play badly, we're kind of in trouble. However, when you level up, it refills your health and gives you some extra health as well. So I believe I have 10 health, and I'm also just generally... Well, I'm not really doing any more. Well, actually, no, some levels do actually give you a few extra points in attack and defense. It's just not as often as in most RPGs. Mostly what you get extra is health and a refill. Most of the time you get better attacks and defense stats by just finding weapons and equipment throughout the game, as we will be seeing by the end of the video. These guys, because of their erraticness, I like to take them out with the magic when I can, and here's our way in there to take out the rest of them. Because, again, the fireball is a little inconsistent due to the shape of the attack, and the fact that it only goes in the direction you're facing. I'm running out of gems, so let's just dive in, shall we? So wade into this plant and do some gardening. One thing I quite like is that there are very few repeated enemies in this game. Every level has a very distinct set of enemies to deal with, and that's always quite fun. A lot of them with unique behaviours that the other levels enemies don't have. In this case, his behaviours are fairly basic. But yeah, this is where the problems come in fighting these guys. I was in a bit of a pickle here. I lost a lot of health to one of them, so we have to be careful. Now I'm looking in a really bad shape. If I get hit at all from this point on, it's not going to look good for me. So let's just try and avoid that, shall we? And there we have actually quite a nice shortcut. So we'll show off here, because it will actually take us to that little spit of wood we saw earlier. That is now a big shortcut to this entire part of the level. That's one of the key things with this game, is that the monster nests not only give you town people to and animals and stuff, and equipment, it also gives you shortcuts. So it's well worth doing every monster nail you see so that you can get all the experience you can, and deal with all of the shortcuts and all the bonuses and just general items. Also, as you can see, some of the people we rescue, but not all, will restore our health slightly, which is quite nice of them. But of course, we actually cannot progress any further without visiting town. So let's head back to town, shall we, and see what we've unlocked, by restoring a good third of it at this point. This is the flow of the videos from this point on as well. As you can see, we have one monster lair remaining. It may just be one we can't get to yet, I believe that's the case. But it's a good way of seeing when you're missing things as well. So otherwise some monster lairs can be somewhat tricky to remember to go back for, if you didn't find them the first time through. So let's explore what we've restored of town, shall we? As you can see, that level up actually gave us a little extra strength. We started with 1 sword of strength, now we have 2 swords in strength. One thing I quite like with this game is its menu system. I've always found these kind of physical, visual menus really satisfying compared to just the big list of items that, say, Skyrim have. When you have slots for every individual thing, like in this game or Zelda, it's always been much more satisfying for me to have every item have its specific place. Because it makes everything feel more meaningful than just, oh, I've got another pile of nonsense to put randomly somewhere in my back pocket. Well, that's everything on the left-hand side. We've got a guy that gives us infinite herbs now, which is nice. We can only carry one at a time, of course, otherwise the game will kind of break, so we have to be a little careful still. It's always nice to have one, though, because it means we have effectively double the health we thought we did. And here is how we'll progress to the Grand Castle for the next video, turning this wheel. Now the water wheel's going, the elevator will move. But the elevator has quite a lot of things on the other side of it that want to eat us, so let's instead go in here. For these chests that we've unlocked as well, there's vines. We also get our first piece of armor here. And a bunch of gems. And a bonus. A lot of experience from that guy. Fairy. And a lot of gems too, and new armor. Getting a lot of cool stuff, just for doing just one part of the dungeon. And that's one thing I really like with this game, is you either get some good, cute dialogue, or useful items from doing everything you can in the dungeon. It's always worth doing everything. And it's easy to find and do everything too. It's a fairly chill game, a fairly quick one to run through. But, that is the end of the first episode, so I'll leave you for next time. Goodbye.